chances are you're playing a character right now and you're not even noticing that you're playing a character. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean is, most of us actually go through life trying to figure everything out, trying to figure out what to do, who to talk to, and how to move forward, right? And not every single one of us knows where we're going and how we're getting there, or like we have specific ambitions or goals or objectives, but we're not really sure how to get there 100% of the time, right? And you become a kind of amalgamation of all of these different sorts of, I guess, people that you come across and that you interact with. You become an amalgamation of all of these people you talk to. And so the more people you talk to, the more you're going to have their character bleed onto yours. And so what matters the most in this case is just making sure that you surround yourself with the kind of people that you want to be surrounded by. And so one thing that I've noticed is that what it really comes down to getting when you want to get what you want, what it really comes down to is being aware of who you're playing as. Because you could very well be playing a completely different character, putting on an act, like an actor, in your own life. Or you could actually be that character, originally, authentically, completely embodying that character without putting on an act. And it is who you are. Those are two separate things, right? And so you need to be very careful with when it comes to portraying a type of character in front of different people. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean is you need to be careful, because some people can sense that when you're embodying a character and you're not being yourself. People can sense that. And so you need to be aware of what you're not aware. You need to know what you don't know. You need to know that you don't know certain things. And so admitting that you're not perfect and you're not, how would I say this? That you haven't learned everything, that you haven't experienced everything, that you have still things to learn, you still have things to undertake and dream about or be ambitious about, is the step number one on the path of certainty in becoming more confident, becoming more respected by other people, and allowing you to learn the lessons along the way that are going to help you tremendously make tremendous progress from where you are to where you want to be or where you want to go. This is extremely important, because if you always think that you know what's best and you always put on this act of you are an all-knowing person and you don't need to learn, then in that case you won't seek to learn. You won't seek to improve. You'll discard it. You'll put it aside. You won't think about it. And this is a problem. I go out there and I spend a lot of time out in public talking to random people on the street, random people at coffee shops that I meet, random people at the gym, at the swimming pool, wherever it may be, okay? And every single time I interact with these people, I interact with these people with me, the character that is myself. I've created this character that is authentic, that is original, that is himself. And I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm not trying to be this big shot. I'm not trying to be anybody. I am myself. And when you go out there and you speak to people, you understand very quickly, and this goes hand in hand with the video that I recorded yesterday about insecurities, that some people don't actually know who they are. And so they put on this act of a character that they think they're supposed to be, but they actually aren't 100% confident or certain that that is the character they're supposed to be. And so that makes them insecure, it makes them less confident, and it makes them uncertain about who they are as an individual. And then they're not really sure what to make up with their own heads or their own minds. Time and time again, I speak to people and I understand more. The more people I speak to, the more human psychology I understand. And from the books I read to the stories I hear to the business I conduct to the friends and family I spend time with, everything, it makes me understand how the world works little by little by little. Every single time I add another piece to the puzzle. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's good and all, but why do I give a shit? Why do I give a shit about what you have to say about character and people playing a character and so on and so forth? Well, if you really truly want to be a respectable man, a man that commands respect, that people look up to and admire, then, and that doesn't mean you necessarily have figured everything out, then in that case you need to be the kind of man that doesn't embody a character that he thinks he should be, and instead embodies a character that is himself. This is what matters the most in terms of getting better quality friendships. Being authentically yourself, being originally yourself, and not just abdicating to any and all people because you want to make them feel a certain way. If you were liked by everybody, in that case, you would have at some point in time lied to somebody else or deceived who you truly are. For some people, it's actually really hard to be themselves because it's something that is insignificant or ugly. And I'm not talking about looks or aesthetics. I'm also talking about internally ugly. And you might be weak. This is how I felt before. You might be weak. You might be uninteresting, not very funny, not very social, not very capable, not very strong. And all of these things are things that you don't really want to look at because it hurts to look at them. But let me tell you that it is not by avoiding the problem that the problem is going to disappear. The problem is going to disappear once you've solved it by taking action and doing better and getting more experience and pushing forward. That's what matters the most. Because if you never solve any problems, if you never seek to improve yourself and become the person you want to become, then you're going to live a very hard, uncertain lifestyle. And you might explore some things over here, some things over there, but if you don't take the time to really develop your character and understand what makes you you and what would you like to have, then in that case, you're basically letting other people, letting the world dictate who you are. You're just cruising through life like a drop of water in the river, like a grain of sand in the desert, like a cloud through the mountains in the sky. You're not really doing anything. You're just letting the wind and letting the current take you somewhere. And I'm here to tell you that you can do that. That's not really a problem. That's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can take control and create a life that you actually are proud to have. That you are actually admired by other people. That you are actually respected for who you are. And it all starts with you. It doesn't start with somebody coming along and telling you what to do, or somebody coming along and saving you, or making a bunch of money for you and giving it to you, or getting a bunch of really beautiful women and giving them to you. That's not how it works. It starts with you taking the first step. And that could be going to the gym for the first time today, ever. That could be going to a suit store, getting a suit tailor-made if you have the money, and putting it on the next time you go outside. It could be booking an appointment with the barber shop in order to get a new haircut, a new beard trim, and to look fresh. It could be taking a shower. A good, warm, steaming hot shower, cleaning yourself down literally everywhere to make sure that you are ready to attack and to take full ownership of the day that is before you. This is very important. Nothing gets done if you don't take action. Action is the baseline foundation of what the world has been based on for hundreds of thousands of years. How do you think they built the pyramids of Giza? How do you think they built the, Empire State Building? How do you think they built the Eiffel Tower? How do you think they chartered the Marianas Trench? How do you think they climbed all the way up to Mount Everest, to the very top? Those things happened because people took action day after day after day after day. And they took ownership and control of their lives. And I'm here to tell you that you can do that too. And it starts with something as insignificant as getting out of bed or getting off the couch, putting the snacks in the trash, and going out there and taking action. It's very simple. And you might be thinking, yeah, you're saying it's very simple and blah blah blah, but I don't really care, bro. And in that case, well, that's your decision. I'm not here to force you. I'm not here to shove things down your mouth to force you to believe or to think or to do. I'm here to tell you an option, a choice that you are able to make with your brain and your arms and your legs and your body. You can do things. And some people forget about this. Some people let themselves be taken away by the current or the wind or the elements of nature. And they don't really seek to make a stand for themselves, take full ownership of their lives. And so they play this character, this unappealing, uncertain, ignorant, weak character that caters to everybody else and that seeks other people's approval and that is insecure about so many things that it is so blatantly apparent when you look at them that you know that if they never start, they'll never succeed. They'll never become the man they want to truly become. And that is why some people play video games, by the way. Some people play video games to escape the mundanity and the boring and the unappealing and the weak and the ugly of their own lives. That's why most people who play video games are fat, depressed, and in a very tragic stage of their lives. Because video games prey on those types of people because they're not able to live the lives they actually want to live. They haven't figured out that they can live the life they wanted if they actually put in the work. And it's going to be hard. I've put in work over the past 4 years. And over the past 4 years, I've faced the ugliest parts of myself and I've fixed them. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I'm nowhere near where I want to be in the future. And that's fine. Because day after day, I'm moving forward. I'm taking 2 steps forward every day. 3, 4, 5 steps forward every day. As much as I possibly can. Now, of course, sometimes I might sit down on my way to the top of the mountain and look at the map or take a rest. But I will never stop moving. I will always find a way to move forward, take action. And I refuse to embody another character that isn't truly who I want to be. So today you have a choice to make. You can either sit on the couch or lay in bed wherever you're watching this video. And I don't really care if you're watching this at 10 p.m. or at 8 a.m. You have 2 choices. Either you can start taking action today, right now, get off your ass and do something. Find out what you want to do if you don't know. That would be a good first step. Or you can just stay there and just be a fucking vegetable and play the character you've always played and not care and cover up your weaknesses and your insecurities with cheap dopamine and video games and movies and TV shows and junk food. If you want to do that, the option's there. I'm not going to force you, and I wouldn't recommend that, but that's how it works. So with that said, if you're interested in living a more bountiful life, become a more respected man by others, and to live by the ethos of this channel, which is to do better, then in that case, I urge you to like, comment, subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe and you want to unsubscribe later, that's completely up to you. I'm not going to judge. I don't really care. but I do appreciate all the support I can get on this channel as I post videos every single day for lessons on how to become a more respectable man and how to do better. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to do that. And with that said, I will see you in the next one, as it's a beautiful day. The sun is up. It's time to get back to work. And I will see you in the next one tomorrow. See ya.